Introduction. As a nobody in the company, I was unexpectedly entrusted with the important task of taking the drunk and icy female CEO home. I thought this was the peak of my life, that a promotion and a raise were just around the corner for me. Lin Feng. But the one who opened the door was a burly, tattooed man with a fierce-looking face. Just as my legs went weak and I was about to give him my bank card pin, he burst out crying with a wah, hugging my thigh. "My dear daughter, my treasure, you finally brought your boyfriend home." Me? At the company's annual party, after 3 rounds of drinks, Manager Wong, the junior supervisor of our department, held his wine glass, his face smiling like a chrysanthemum. "President Chin, you're truly a great drinker. Our entire department combined is no match for you." The woman sitting in the main seat, dressed in a well-tailored black suit, had a cold and aloof aura. She was none other than our company's Ice Queen CEO, Chin Ruoxue. She merely glanced at Manager Wong without a word, but the oppressive feeling in her eyes made the temperature of the entire private room drop by several degrees. Manager Wong sheepishly put down his glass, not daring to press her further. But he couldn't stop the directors from other departments from taking turns. No matter how much Chin Ruoxue could drink, she was still just a woman. After a few rounds, her originally cool and beautiful face was tinged with 2 intoxicating shades of crimson. Her eyes also began to look a little hazy. When the banquet ended, a problem arose. President Chin was this drunk who would take her home. A group of senior executives looked at each other, none daring to take on this hot potato. Taking a female boss home, especially a single, beautiful one, was too sensitive a matter. Do it well, and it's just part of your duty. Screw it up, for instance, if there's an accident on the way, or if you're misunderstood by President Chin's family, then your career is basically over. Just then, Manager Wong's small eyes darted towards me, and then he clapped me on the shoulder. "Little Lin, you're the cleverest and the most stable driver. You'll be the one to take President Chin home tonight." I was busy stuffing my face with food at the time and almost spat out a mouthful of rice when I heard this. "My name is Lin Feng, an unremarkable office worker in the company's planning department. Me clever. Me a stable driver. I don't even have a driver's license." I was about to refuse when Manager Wong shoved President Chin's car keys into my hand without taking no for an answer. He then leaned into my ear and said in a voice only the 2 of us could hear, "Little Lin, this is an opportunity. Seize it, and next year's Outstanding Employee Award is yours." After speaking, he exchanged you know what I mean look with the other colleagues, and then they all scurried away. In the huge private room, only I and the dead-drunk Chin Ruoxue were left. Oh wait, it's Chin Ruoxue. Watching her slumped over the table, her long hair cascading down like a waterfall, revealing a sliver of her snow-white neck. A stampede of 10,000 alpacas ran through my mind. An opportunity? This is a goddamn trap. But everyone had run off, and I couldn't just leave the CEO here alone. I sighed, resigned to my fate, walked over, and gently patted her shoulder. "President Chin, wake up. I'll take you home." She didn't react. I had no choice but to use more force and support her by the arm. "President Chin?" She mumbled, slowly lifting her head. Those beautiful phoenix eyes were watery and held a hint of confusion. "Home." She leaned softly against me, a delicate scent of perfume mixed with alcohol drilling straight in my nostrils. As a young virgin who hadn't even held a girl's hand in over 20 years, how could I handle this? My face flushed red with a swoosh. Supporting her felt like holding a ball of cotton, soft, and without a point of leverage. I finally managed to get her out of the private room and into the back seat of her Maserati. I sat in the driver's seat, looking at the complicated steering wheel and center console, my head throbbing. I don't know how to drive. Fortunately, in Chin Ruoxue's bag, besides the car keys, there was a business card for a designated driver service. I quickly called for a designated driver. While waiting for the driver, I sat in the passenger seat, looking at the peaceful, sleeping face of Chin Ruoxue in the rearview mirror, my heart filled with mixed feelings. To be honest, Chin Ruoxue was truly beautiful. At the company, she always had the aloof air of an unapproachable ice queen. Now that she was drunk, she seemed to have a bit more softness and a touch of the mortal world. A woman like this, whoever marries her, how many years of struggle would they save? As my mind wandered, the designated driver arrived. After giving the address, the car drove smoothly towards the city's most famous wealthy district, Cloud Top Villas. The car stopped in front of a brightly lit, single-family villa. I paid the driver, and then faced a new problem. How do I get President Sheen inside? I once again dragged her out of the back seat and propped her up against me. She was taller than I thought, and in her high heels, she was almost as tall as me. Most of her body weight pressed down on me. I felt like my back was about to break. Staggering to the villa's front door, I freed one hand, preparing to ring the doorbell. But before I could press it, the heavy, solid wood door creaked open from the inside. A man stood in the doorway. A man who, at first glance, made me feel like my life was about to end. I estimated him to be over 1.90 meters tall with a brawny build. He wore a black tank top, revealing two thick, powerful arms. His arms, from shoulder to wrist, were covered in tattoos of green-faced, tusked demons and ferocious, snarling beasts, the kind with a green dragon on the left and a white tiger on the right. A scar ran from the corner of his eye to the corner of his mouth, adding a touch of savagery to his already fierce face. His bronze bell-like eyes stared intently at me and the unconscious Chin Ruoshua in my arms. His gaze was cold, sharp, and full of scrutiny and killing intent. I felt as if the instructions for my legs were burned away by the murderous aura in his eyes at that moment. My mind went blank. I am screwed. What is this situation? President Chin's husband, bodyguard, or an enemy? No matter which one, I was afraid I wouldn't be walking out of this door today. Subconsciously, I wanted to let go, to drop this hot potato Chin Ruoshua, turn around, and run. But as soon as I moved, the big man spoke. His voice was like two pieces of sandpaper rubbing together, hoarse and deep. Stay put. I froze, my calves trembling. I squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying and stammered an explanation. Be big, brother. Please don't misunderstand. I'm President Chin's colleague. She drank too much, so I just brought her back. The big man ignored me, his gaze falling on the hand I was using to support Chin Ruoshua, and his brow furrowed even deeper. I flinched in fear and quickly retracted my hand. Without my support, Chin Ruoshua began to slide softly to the ground. My heart jumped, and I couldn't care about being scared anymore. I quickly reached out and caught her. This was even worse. The posture was now more intimate. I was practically holding her entire body in my arms. I saw the corner of the big man's mouth twitch, and his fists clenched so tightly they cracked. I closed my eyes in despair. It's over. Today it's either being thrown in the river or buried alive. My mind raced, wondering if I should tell him my bank card password, that my Huawei payment was due next month, and which drive my hundreds of gigabytes of study materials were hidden on. Just as I was preparing to meet my heroic end, the expected punch did not land. Instead, I heard a strange sobbing sound. I carefully peeked, open one eye. I saw that ferocious, tattooed man covering his face with his fan-sized hands. His shoulders were shaking. He was crying. I was dumbfounded. What kind of move is this? Do you have to brew up some emotions before hitting someone? The next second, something even more dumbfounding happened. The big man suddenly dropped his hands, revealing a face streaked with tears. He let out a wah and cried like a 300-pound child. Then he rushed forward in a single bound, ignored his daughter, and instead hugged my thigh. Daughter, my treasure, you've finally come to your senses. You finally brought your boyfriend home. Me? I looked down at the scar-faced brute hugging my thigh, snot and tears streaming down his face. Then I looked up at the Ice Queen CEO, unconscious in my arms. I felt like my worldview at this very moment had shattered. Chapter 2. I was completely bewildered. This plot twist isn't right. Shouldn't he have roared, asked who I was, and then beaten me up like a hooligan? Why is he crying and saying I'm his son-in-law? Big brother, which eye of yours sees me as your son-in-law? Chin Ruoshua in my arms seemed to be disturbed by his loud crying. She frowned in displeasure, snuggled against me to find a comfortable position, and went back to sleep. That nuzzle seemed to make the brute hugging my thigh cry even harder. Whoa, my precious cabbage, after raising you for over 20 years, you finally know how to let a pig root you out. Me? I suspect he's insulting me, but I have no proof. You uncle, I managed to say with difficulty, Are you misunderstanding something? I'm really not. Say no more. Uncle gets it. He abruptly lifted his head, his bloodshot eyes shining brightly at me, his face wearing the kind of smile a mother-in-law gives her son-in-law. The more she looks, the more pleased she is. No, he wasn't a mother-in-law. He was a father-in-law. Young man, don't be nervous and don't be scared. Our family is very open-minded. As he spoke, he got up from the floor and patted my shoulder enthusiastically. The force nearly sent me to the ground. Quick, quick, help Rawashua inside. It's windy outside. I was half pushed, half pulled into the villa by him. As soon as I entered, the rich aroma of food filled the air. In the luxuriously decorated living room, the huge dining table was laden with all sorts of steaming dishes that looked like they had just been cooked. I know you young people have a lot of social events and probably haven't eaten well, so I specially prepared a late-night snack for you. He took Chin Rawashua from my arms, carefully placed her on the sofa, and thoughtfully covered her with a blanket. After doing all this, he turned back, pulled me towards the dining table. Come, come, young man, don't be shy. Make yourself at home. I looked at his scarred face, wrinkled with a smile, then at the menacing tattoos on his arm, and felt like I was dreaming. The contrast was just too great. Uncle. Why call me uncle? That's so formal. He waved his hand grandly. Call me Uncle Chin, or Dad is fine too. But I almost coughed up a mouthful of blood. Dad, I'm only 25. I don't want to father this early. Uncle. Uncle Chin. I decided to take an indirect approach, starting with his tattoos, trying to awaken his awareness of his own gangster boss identity. Your tattoos are really intimidating. I pointed to the most ferocious demon head on his arm. Hearing this, Uncle Chin paused for a moment, then looked down his arm, and a trace of shyness appeared on his face. Oh, this was just some random stuff I got inked. He scratched his head, saying with some embarrassment, this was all from when I was young and foolish, just messing around. As he spoke, he rolled up his sleeve further, revealing more tattoos. I took a closer look and was instantly petrified. Next to the green-faced, fanged demon head was a tattoo of pink, bubble-blowing SpongeBob SquarePants. Next to SpongeBob was Patrick Star. Further up was a row of crookedly drawn vegetables, carrots, cabbage, broccoli, and his proud azure dragon on the left, white tiger on the right. Upon closer inspection, the dragon on the left had a baby bottle in its mouth. The tiger on the right, next to the king character on its forehead, had a tiny word cute tattooed. The most outrageous was his other arm. I had previously thought it was a gathering of ferocious beasts, but now, up close, I could see clearly. What ferocious beasts? That was clearly. Is that Peppa Pig? I pointed to the pink, hairdryer-like creature on his arm, my voice trembling. Uncle Chin's face flushed red in an instant. That. Rawashua liked to watch it when she was little and insisted I get it tattooed. He explained awkwardly. She said that way. Daddy could be with Peppa forever. Me? I looked at the collection of Peppa, George, Daddy Pig, and Mummy Pig on his arm and felt my perception of reality being shattered once again. So this scarred, tattooed Hulk in front of me wasn't a gangster boss at all. He was just a doting father whose daughter used him as a drawing board. This plot twist was a bit much for me to handle all at once. Young man, what's your name? Uncle Chin seemed to want to change the subject from his tattoos, enthusiastically putting a piece of braised pork in my bowl. My name is Lin Feng. I answered numbly. Lin Feng, a good name. Uncle Chin praised. Where do you work? In the same company as President Chin. Oh, well, that's convenient. Being in a favorable position gives you the advantage. Uncle Chin's smile grew wider. Little Feng, how far have you and our Rawashua progressed? The braised pork in my mouth almost fell out. Progressed? We haven't even held hands. If she hadn't gotten drunk tonight, I wouldn't have even had the chance to get within 3 meters of her. Uncle Chin, you've really misunderstood. President Chin and I are just colleagues. I try to make a final struggle. Oh, don't be shy. Uncle Chin had an I understand expression on his face. It's all right, I've been there. I won't meddle in you young people's affairs. However, his tone shifted, and his expression suddenly became serious. Our Rawashua has been strong-willed and cold since she was a child. Her mother passed away early, and it wasn't easy for a man like me to raise her alone. She suffered a lot, but she never talks about it. Uncle Chin's eyes reddened again. I can tell she likes you. Otherwise, with her personality, she would never have let you bring her home. I opened my mouth, wanting to say, that's because everyone else ran off. But looking at Uncle Cheen's sincere and hopeful eyes, I couldn't bring myself to say it. So, little Feng, Uncle Cheen grasped my hand and said earnestly, from now on, I'm entrusting our Ruoxue to you. You have to treat her well. You can't bully her. Otherwise, he paused, his gaze instantly sharpening. He pointed to a row of kitchen knives hanging on the wall. Otherwise, my decades of knife skills would have been for nothing. I followed his finger and looked over. On that wall, from large to small, hung a dozen or so kitchen knives, each one gleaming and shining with a cold light. I swallowed, a chill running down the back of my neck. Even though I knew he was a chef, being threatened by a chef holding a dozen kitchen knives, the feeling was still quite terrifying. What else could I say? I could only nod, like a chick pecking at rice. Uncle, don't worry, I will definitely treat President Cheen well. When you're under someone else's roof, you have to bow your head. Saving my life was the priority. Seeing that I had agreed, Uncle Cheen instantly transformed back into that enthusiastic and loving father. That's more like it. Come, eat. He frantically piled food into my bowl, and in no time, the bowl in front of me was a small mountain. I looked at this bowl of food, wanting to cry, but having no tears. What was all this? I just brought my boss home. How did I inexplicably gain the identity of a boyfriend and even meet such a unique parent? As I was struggling, a soft groan came from the sofa. Cheen Ruoxue was awake. Chapter 3. Uncle Cheen and I turned our heads at the same time. We saw Cheen Ruoxue rubbing her temples and slowly sitting up. Her hungover eyes were still a bit hazy. She looked around, and when she saw me sitting at the dining table, she was clearly taken aback. Immediately, a layer of frost quickly formed in her beautiful phoenix eyes. Lin Feng, why are you here? Her voice was still a bit hoarse from the hangover, but that coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away had returned. I was just about to explain. Uncle Cheen had already rushed over with a bowl of freshly ladled hangover soup. Daughter, you're awake. Quick, drink this soup. Dad simmered it for you all afternoon. When Cheen Ruoxue saw her dad, the frost on her face melted a little, but her brows were still tightly knitted. Dad, why is he in our house? She asked, pointing at me, her tone full of accusation. What are you saying, child? Uncle Cheen said reproachfully. Xiao Feng is your boyfriend. If he's not here, where would he be? Cough. Ahem. I choked violently on a mouthful of soup. Boyfriend? Uncle Cheen, you really have the guts to say that. Cheen Ruoxue's face, at a speed visible to the naked eye, went from white to red, and then from red to black. Dad, what nonsense are you talking about? She said, both shy and annoyed. He's my colleague. Colleague? What kind of colleague would carry you home in the middle of the night? Uncle Cheen looked unconvinced. Daughter, just stop hiding it from Dad. Dad saw everything. You two were at the door, being very affectionate. Cheen Ruoxue wanted to explain, but she had clearly blacked out from drinking and couldn't remember what had happened at all. She could only look to me for help, her eyes seeming to say, You better explain this clearly to me. I received her signal and immediately stood up, ready to clarify the facts. President Cheen, Uncle Cheen, this is what happened. Xiao Feng, don't be afraid. Uncle Cheen interrupted me, thinking I was afraid of embarrassing Cheen Ruoxue. I understand you young people's affairs. It's modern love. Ruoxue is just thin-skinned. You have to be more tolerant. After speaking, he even winked at me. Me? I felt like I couldn't clear my name, even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Cheen Ruoxue watched as her dad and I exchanged glances, her pretty face flushed red with anger, her chest heaving violently. She stood up abruptly, pointed to the door, and ordered me to leave. Lin Feng, you right now. Immediately get out. Daughter, what are you doing? Uncle Cheen was not happy. How can you talk to Xiao Feng like that? Dad, if you keep talking nonsense, I'll move out tomorrow. Cheen Ruoxue was truly panicked. Seeing that the father and daughter were about to start arguing, my head was about to explode. President Cheen, Uncle Cheen, please stop fighting. I'll go now. I felt that if I stayed any longer, I might be driven crazy by this bizarre father-daughter duo. I stood up, preparing to slip away. Don't go. The father and daughter actually shouted in unison. I was stunned. Chin Ruoshua glared at me. My home address is a company secret. I don't want a fourth person to know. Everything you saw and heard today, you better keep it to yourself. If you dare to say a single word. She didn't finish, but her threatening gaze said it all. Uncle Chin, on the other hand, grabbed me and persuaded me earnestly. Xiaofeng, don't mind her. She's just drunk and throwing a tantrum. If you leave, I won't feel at ease. I was caught in the middle, unable to leave or stay, feeling like a radish being pulled in a tug-of-war. In the end, it was Uncle Chin who made the decision. It's so late, it's not safe outside. Xiaofeng, you're staying here tonight. What? Chin Ruoshua, and I exclaimed in unison again. No way. Chin Ruoshua refused without a second thought. What's wrong with it? We have so many guest rooms. Uncle Chin's eyes widened. It's settled. Xiaofeng, come with me. I'll take you to your room. After speaking, he grabbed me, without taking no for an answer, and headed for the second floor. I looked back to see Chin Ruoshua standing in place, stomping her foot in anger, yet helpless against her clownish father. That expression was actually a little cute. Uncle Chin led me to a guest room. It was large and warmly decorated. Ah, Xiaofeng, don't take it to heart. Ruoshua just has a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. Uncle Chin was still chattering away as he helped me make the bed. I know, she's under a lot of pressure, running such a big company all by herself. She always has to put on a front when she's out. But really, deep down, she longs for someone to care for her and dote on her more than anyone. See, she might be telling you to leave, but who knows how much she really wants you to stay. Listening to Uncle Chin's delusional speech, I was too tired to even retort. Did your daughter's glare look like she wanted me to stay? It looked like she wanted me to disappear from the face of the earth. All right, you get some rest. In the morning, Uncle will make you a feast. Uncle Chin finished, gave me a "I've got my eye on you, kid" smile, and left the room. I lay on the soft, large bed, smelling the scent of sunshine on the quilt, feeling how surreal everything was. Me, Lin Feng, an ordinary office worker, had actually moved into the home of a female CEO worth hundreds of millions. And I was even being treated as a prospective son-in-law by her father, who looked suspiciously like a triad boss. Life is truly full of surprises and scares. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, my mind filled with the image of Uncle Chin's scarred face and the Peppa Pig tattoo on his arm. I don't know how much time passed, but I was just drifting off into a daze. Suddenly, the door was gently pushed open a crack. A slender figure tiptoed in. My heart leaped, and I was instantly wide awake. Who? Was it Chin Ruoshua? What did she want? Did she feel that scolding me at the office during the day wasn't enough, and now she was here for a midnight physical assault? Or perhaps she had been captivated by my charming personality and was preparing to. Just as my mind was staging the drama of the year, the figure had already reached my bedside. By the moonlight filtering through the window, I could see that it was indeed Chin Ruoshua. She had changed out of her professional attire, and I was wearing a set of cute bunny pajamas, her long hair casually draped over her shoulders. She had lost her sharp daytime demeanor, replaced by a touch of cozy indolence. She just stood there quietly by my bed, looking down at me. The moonlight spilled onto her face, casting a soft halo around her. I held my breath, my heart involuntarily accelerating. What was she trying to do? Just as I thought she was about to act out some night raid scene, she suddenly reached out, her hand probing under my pillow. Then from under my pillow she pulled out my wallet. I was dumbfounded. What kind of move was this? A honey trap? A badger game? First, they put me at ease with the prospective son-in-law status, and then she steals my wallet in the middle of the night? You two, father and daughter, are you really playing such an elaborate game? After getting the wallet, Chin Ruoshua seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. She opened it, pulled out a few red bills, and then took a wad of cash from her own pajama pocket and stuffed it into my wallet. After doing all this, she carefully placed the wallet back under my pillow. Then, she straightened up, looked at me, and muttered to herself in a very low voice. Lin Feng, thank you for tonight. And, I am sorry. My dad, he just likes to talk nonsense. Don't take him seriously. Take this money. Consider it. Hush money. From tomorrow on, forget everything that happened tonight. We were still just a boss and a subordinate. With that, she turned and left the room as silently as a startled rabbit. I lay in bed, motionless. After a long while, I slowly reached out and pulled the wallet from under the pillow. I opened it. Inside lay a thick stack of cash, at least 20,000 yuan. Me? Is the hush money of the wealthy always this simple and unadorned? I looked at the money in my hand, then thought of her pretense of strength just now, and a strange feeling stirred in my heart. This Ice Queen CEO, it seems. She isn't so bad after all. Chapter 4. The next morning, I was awakened by the earth-shattering sound of chopping meat. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The sound was fast, dense, and extremely rhythmic, as if it had its own background music, making my heart pound with every beat. I shot up in bed, thinking Uncle Cheen had found out I'd abducted his daughter and was sharpening his knives to chop me up. I scrambled out of the room and followed the sound downstairs to the first floor. Then I saw him. Uncle Cheen was dressed in a professional chef's uniform, complete with a tall toque, standing before the massive island in the open-plan kitchen. He was holding 2 cleavers, each about the length of my forearm, and was furiously mincing meat on the cutting board. The blades flashed, a blur of motion. The spectacle was more exaggerated than anything you'd see from the god of cookery in the movies. The Peppa Pig and SpongeBob SquarePants tattoos on his arm jiggled with the movement of his muscles, creating a hilariously jarring sight. Xiaofeng, you're awake. Uncle Cheen saw me, stopped what he was doing, and flashed a wide, toothy grin. Go wash up. Uncle made you some pork and scallion buns. You'll definitely love them. I looked at him, then at the 2 gleaming cleavers, and silently swallowed. Uncle, with skills like that, it's a shame you're not competing in a god of cookery competition. Nah, it's just from fooling around. Uncle Cheen waved his hand humbly. It's mainly because my daughter loves the buns I make. And when you're mincing the meat, you have to put some power into it. The stuff from machine has no soul. I believed him. With that kind of force, any soul in the meat would have been chopped right out of it. After I washed up, Cheen Ruoshu also came downstairs. She had changed into a sharp business outfit, reverting to her aloof, Ice Queen CEO persona. Only the dark circles under her eyes betrayed that she hadn't slept well last night either. When she saw me, her gaze flickered away for a moment before turning cold again. Morning, she uttered coldly, walking straight to the dining table. On the table were steaming hot buns, millet congee, and a few delicate side dishes. Daughter, Xiaofeng, come and eat. Uncle Cheen called out enthusiastically. The atmosphere was incredibly awkward. I sat at one end of the dining table, Cheen Ruoshue at the other, with what felt like the distance of an entire galaxy between us. Only Uncle Cheen, like a busy little bee, flitted about happily, now putting a bun on my plate, now ladling congee for Cheen Ruoshue. Xiaofeng, eat more, look how skinny you are. Daughter, you eat more too. Don't always think about dieting. Your health is the most important thing. Cheen Ruoshue kept a cold expression on her face the whole time, not saying a word, just eating in silence. I didn't dare to speak either, so I could only bury my head and eat. I had to admit, Uncle Cheen's cooking was no joke. The buns had thin skins and generous fillings. One bite and your mouth was flooded with savory juice. The millet congee was also cooked to perfection, fragrant and glutinous. Just as I was on my 5th bun, Cheen Ruoshue finally spoke. I'm full. She put down her chopsticks, dabbed her mouth with a napkin, and stood up. Lin Feng, you're coming with me. Take my car to the office. I was taken aback. Uncle Cheen, however, was delighted. Yes, let Ruoshue give you a ride. It'll save you from squeezing onto the subway. I was about to refuse, but seeing the indisputable look in Cheen Ruoshue's eyes, I swallowed my words. Before we left, Uncle Cheen pulled me aside and secretly stuffed a thermal lunchbox into my hands. Xiaofeng, this is the lunch Uncle prepared for you and Ruoshue, a bento of love. Remember to remind her to eat it at noon. Looking at the heavy lunchbox in my hands, I felt an immense pressure. Sitting in Cheen Ruoshue's Maserati, the atmosphere inside the car was colder than a Siberian cold front. She drove with her eyes fixed on the road, her pretty face taut. I sat in the passenger seat, feeling like I was on pins and needles. After a long time, she finally squeezed out a sentence through gritted teeth. Did you get the money from last night? Huh? Yay. Yes, I got it, I answered quickly. Good, she said coldly. Remember our agreement. Forget everything about last night. At the office, you're not to mention it to anyone, especially my father. Understood, understood. I nodded like a bobblehead. Also, she paused, her tone growing even colder. From now on, stay away from my father. Me? I can't do that. Your dad is the one who's stuck to me like glue, not the other way around. The car drove all the way to the company building. Chin Ruashua parked the car and unbuckled her seatbelt. You get out first and go up through the employee entrance. I'll go up in 5 minutes. She was drawing a line between us. I got it. I nodded, picked up the bento of love from Uncle Chin, and prepared to get out. Just then, a commotion broke out outside the car window. A flashy red Ferrari drifted to a stop horizontally in front of our car, completely blocking our path. The door opened, and a young man in a floral shirt, his hair slicked back with grease, got out holding a large bouquet of roses. Ruashua, the man leaned against the hood of his car, struck what he clearly thought was a handsome pose, and yelled in our direction. I saw Chin Ruashua's brow instantly knit into a knot. Wang Hao, why is he here? My heart skipped a beat. Wang Hao, the young master of the Wang Group, another major enterprise in the city, was a notorious playboy in our circles. He had reportedly been pursuing Chin Ruashua relentlessly, pestering her to no end. It looked like there was going to be a good show today. Wang Hao had clearly also seen me in the passenger seat. The smile on his face froze for a second, then was replaced by a look of contempt. He walked up to our car window and knocked on it with a bent finger. Left with no choice, Chin Ruashua had to lower the window. Wang Hao, what is the meaning of this? Her tone was hostile. It doesn't mean anything, Ruashua. I just wanted to ask you out for a meal. Wang Hao's eyes, however, kept darting towards me. Is this your new driver? He asked, pointing at me, his voice dripping with disdain. Me? Although I was indeed acting as a designated driver, wasn't that a bit too harsh? Chin Ruashua's expression turned even colder. This is none of your business. How is it none of my business? Wang Hao said with a smirk. Your driver's taste isn't all that great. What? Your company can't even afford a decent driver. As he spoke, he actually reached out, tried to grab me by the collar. I instinctively dodged backward. I lost my grip on the insulated lunchbox in my hand, and it fell to the ground with a clang. The lid flew off. The meal that Uncle Chin had carefully prepared spilled all over the floor. Braised pork, sweet and sour ribs, and 2 rice balls molded into the shape of hearts. The air fell silent in an instant. Wang Hao stared at the heart-shaped rice balls on the ground, stunned. Chin Ruashua was also stunned. My face, with a whoosh, turned red all the way to the roots of my neck. It was over. This time, even jumping into the Pacific Ocean couldn't wash me clean. A man, early in the morning, getting out of a female CEO's car, holding a love bento. The image was just too impactful. Wang Hao's face went from white to green, then from green to purple, a truly spectacular sight. He pointed at me, then at Chin Ruashua, trembling with anger. Well done, Chin Ruashua. I've been chasing you for so long, and you ignore me. So it turns out you were seeing this pretty boy behind my back. How is he better than me? Huh, and you even make him a love bento? Chin Ruashua was completely bewildered by his shouting. Then, it dawned on her, and her pretty face turned pale with anger. Wang Hao, shut your mouth. It's not what you think. Not what you think. Then what is it? Wang Hao pointed at the food on the ground and roared hysterically. The evidence is right here. You still want to argue? Watching this soap opera-like drama unfold before my eyes, I had completely given up struggling. Just let me be destroyed. Quickly. Just then my phone rang. I took it out and saw the caller ID. Dearest father-in-law. My hand trembled, and I almost threw the phone away. When did Uncle Chin change my contact name? Guiltily, I glanced at Chin Ruashua. She had also seen the glaring contact name, and her eyes instantly filled with a murderous look. Steeling myself, I pressed the answer key. From the other end of the line, Uncle Chin's booming voice immediately came through. Hello, little phone. Have you and Ruashua arrived at the company? Remember to eat the love bento Uncle prepared for you at lunch. It's filled with Uncle's love. Uncle Chin's voice was loud to begin with, and a small space inside the car amplified it. Every word was transmitted clearly to everyone's ears. Wang Hao's expression froze. Qin Ruoshua's expression also froze. Holding the phone, I wished I could just die on the spot. Uncle Qin, you are truly my greatest wingman. Wang Hao's face looked like a dye factory had opened on it. He stared intently at the phone in my hand, then looked at Qin Ruoshua, his eyes filled with humiliation and rage. Uncle, love. He repeated the two words through gritted teeth, as if he wanted to crush them. Qin Ruoshua, you've got guts. To reject me, you'd even find a pretty boy like this. And it's already reached the point of meeting the parents. Qin Ruoshua's face could no longer be described as pale. It was deathly white. She had probably never been this embarrassed in her entire life. Wang Hao, I'll say it one more time. Shut your mouth. Her voice trembled with anger. Shut up? Why should I shut up? Wang Hao had completely lost it. He pointed at my nose and cursed. You pretty boy, you just wait. You dare touch my woman. I'll make sure you can't survive in Shuncheng. Me? Brother, I've been wronged. I haven't even touched her. Wang Hao, if you dare to speak one more word of nonsense, the partnership between our two families is terminated, effective immediately. Qin Ruoshua finally played her trump card. Upon hearing this, Wang Hao's arrogance instantly deflated by half. The Wang group and the Qin group were indeed in talks about a major project recently. If it fell through, because of this, his dad would skin him alive. He shot me a vicious glare, a look that seemed to say, you just wait. Then he stomped on the gas and drove off furiously in his Ferrari. The world was finally quiet, but the pressure inside the car was even lower than before. I could feel that Qin Ruoshua's anger level had already maxed out. She didn't look at me, just stared intently ahead, her chest heaving violently. After a long while, she finally squeezed a word out from between her teeth. Get out. President Qin, I said get out. She practically roared it. I shivered in fear, hurriedly pushing the door open to get out, even forgetting the lunchbox on the floor. As soon as my feet were firmly on the ground, the Maserati let out a roar and shot into the underground garage like an arrow released from a bow. I stood alone downstairs from the company, the cold wind blowing, feeling more wrong than dough. What kind of mess was this? I sighed and resignedly walked into the company through the employee entrance. As soon as I entered the office, I felt that the atmosphere was off. All my colleagues were looking at me with an extremely strange gaze. There was curiosity, envy, jealousy, and also sympathy. My direct supervisor, Manager Wang, pulled me straight into the break room. Lin, you're something else. He slapped my shoulder excitedly. Hiding your light under a bushel. Manager Wang, what are you talking about? I was completely bewildered. Still pretending? Manager Wang winked at me. It's all over the company forum. He took out his phone and opened the internal company forum. A bolded, red headline post was pinned at the very top. The title was shocking. Ice Queen President's romance exposed. Boyfriend is a lowly company employee. Below were several high-definition photos. In the photos, Qin Ruoshua's Maserati was parked downstairs from the company, with Wang Hao's Ferrari blocking it. Qin Ruoshua and I were sitting in the car, while Wang Hao was yelling outside. There was another one, a shot of my back as I got out of the car holding that damned lunchbox of love. The angle of the photos was extremely tricky, making it look as if Qin Ruoshua and I were having a tender farewell in a car, only to be caught in the act by a philandering husband catching Wang Hao. And I was the pretty boy being kept by a rich woman. The post already had hundreds of comments. Holy shit. For real? Lin Feng, is that awesome? No wonder I didn't see Lin Feng on the subway today. Turns out he's commuting in the president's luxury car. That lunchbox is the key. It's definitely a lunchbox of love. I'm so jealous. To the poster above, don't be jealous. Didn't you see young Master Wang's expression? It was as green as the Hulumber grasslands. This kid Lin Feng is probably in for some bad luck. A moment of silence for 3 minutes. Having offended young Master Wang, his career is basically over. Looking at these comments, my vision went dark, and I almost lost my footing. It was over. Now the whole company knew. My reputation as a pretty boy was thoroughly cemented. Ah, little Lin, Manager Wang was still chattering away beside me. You're not being a good friend, getting together with President Qin, and not even telling your big brother. But don't you worry from now on in the department. I've got your back. I looked at his sycophantic face, wanting to cry, but having no tears. I don't need you to have my back. I just want to be an insignificant nobody in peace. For the entire day, I lived under the strange gazes of my colleagues. Everywhere I went, I could hear whispers. Look, that's Lin Feng. He's not even that good looking. How did he win over President Qin? Maybe he has some special talents. I felt like a monkey on display in a cage. What was worse, Qin Ruoxua didn't come out of her office all day. I didn't even have a chance to explain. I finally made it to the end of the workday, and I was the first one to rush out of the company, just wanted to get home quickly and escape this place of trouble. Just as I reached the company entrance, a black Mercedes-Benz business van screeched to a halt in front of me. Two burly men in black suits and sunglasses got out of the car. "Are you Mr. Lin Feng?" one of them asked expressionlessly. My heart skipped a beat. This didn't look like good news. "Our boss wants to see you." "Your boss is?" "Wang Hao, young Master Wang." My heart skipped another beat. What was meant to be has come. I don't know him well. There's nothing to see," I said, backing away. "That's not for you to decide." The two burly men exchanged a look and grabbed my arms, one on each side. "Mr. Lin, if you please." I was half pushed, half shoved into the car. The car sped along, finally stopping at the entrance of a private club that looked exceedingly expensive. I was led into a private room. Wang Hao was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed, smoking a cigar. Next to him sat several other rich kids who, like him, looked like bad news at a glance. Well, if it isn't our great Casanova," Wang Hao said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Name your price," he said, blowing a smoke ring and pointing the cigar at me. "How much will it take for you to leave Qin Ruoxua?" I was stunned. What kind of cliché melodrama was this? The domineering CEO throwing a check at me, forcing me to leave the woman he loves? "You got the script backward, buddy. Young Master Wang, you've misunderstood. There's really nothing between CEO Qin and me." I try to explain. "Cut the fucking crap." Wang Hao stubbed his cigar out in the ashtray, stood up, and walked over to me. He was half a head taller than me, looking down with eyes full of contempt. "Name your price. 100,000? 200,000? Or do you think you can get more by latching on a Qin Ruoxua?" The rich kids behind him started jeering. "Yeah, just a pretty boy acting all high and mighty. Brother Hao is doing you a favor by offering you money." Looking at their arrogant faces, a fire of anger flared up inside me. Even a worm will turn. "You humiliate me again and again. Do you really think I'm such a pushover? I don't need money." I looked at Wang Hao coldly. "Don't need money?" Wang Hao looked as if he'd just heard the world's greatest joke. "You? A poor loser who earns a few thousand a month, and you say you don't need money?" I'll say it again. I enunciated each word. There is nothing going on between CEO Qin and me. "Nothing?" Wang Hao sneered. "You think I believe that?" He suddenly reached out and grabbed me by the collar. "Let me tell you, Lin Feng, Qin Ruoxua is the woman I've set my sights on. You'd better be smart and stay away from her. Or else." He leaned close to my ear and said sinisterly, "I have 100 ways to make you disappear from Shuncheng." Just then, the door to the room was kicked open. Bang! Everyone jumped, their heads snapping towards the door. There stood Uncle Qin, my so-called father-in-law, dressed in a black tang suit with his hands clasped behind his back, silhouetted in the doorway. Behind him were a dozen or so burly men, also in black tang suits, all broad-shouldered and thick-waisted, with grim expressions. The aura, the sheer presence, it was a scene straight out of a movie, the grand entrance of a mob boss. Uncle Qin's gaze swept across the room, finally landing on Wang Hao, who was grabbing my collar. His eyes instantly turned to ice. "You dare lay a hand on my man?" The entire room fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. Wang Hao and his gang of cronies were all dumbfounded. They looked at the intimidating group of men in black at the door, then back at Uncle Qin, who led them, their faces a mask of shock and fear. Wang Hao's hand, still clutching my collar, loosened unconsciously. Who are you people?" he asked, putting on a brave front. Uncle Qin ignored him, walked straight over to me, and looked me up and down. "Xiaofeng, are you all right? They didn't do anything to you, did they?" His tone was so concerned. It was as if I were his real son. I'm fine, Uncle Qin." I shook my head, but a storm was raging in my heart. This whole spectacle was terrifying. Uncle Chin, aren't you a chef? You're no chef. You're the godfather. Are those people behind you your culinary team? Every single one of them looks like they could fight better than me. Good that you're okay. Uncle Chin nodded, then slowly turned to face Wang Hao. His gaze no longer held the warmth it had for me. All that remained was an icy, grim coldness. You, who was it you were just saying you'd make disappear from Shuncheng? His voice wasn't loud, but it carried an unquestionable authority. Wang Hao felt his skin crawl under that gaze, but relying on his status as the young master of the Wang Corporation, he still stuck his neck out and said, I'm teaching my love rival a lesson. What's it to you? Old man, I suggest you mind your own business. Love rival? Uncle Chin sneered, the scar on his face looking particularly hideous under the light. You think you're worthy of being my son-in-law's rival? He reached out and gripped Wang Hao's shoulder. Wang Hao let out a pained cry, feeling as if his shoulder blade was about to be crushed. You, let go. Do you know who I am? My dad is Wang Defa. Gong Defa. Uncle Chin raised an eyebrow. The one in real estate. That's right. Scared now, are you? Let me tell you, if you dare touch a single hair on my head today, my dad will definitely not let you go. Wang Hao thought that by bringing up his father's name, he could intimidate the other party. To his surprise, after Uncle Chin heard this, his smile grew even wider. What a coincidence. He leaned close to Wang Hao's ear and whispered a few words in a voice only the two of them could hear. I saw Wang Hao's face instantly turn as pale as a sheet of paper. The look in his eyes as he stared at Uncle Chin shifted from arrogant to terrified, and finally, to despair. You are the kitchen emperor Chin Dahai. His voice was trembling. Uncle Chin let go and patted his face. It seems your dad has mentioned me quite a bit. Now, do you still think you're qualified to touch my son-in-law? With a thud, Wang Hao dropped directly to his knees. He hugged Uncle Chin's leg, crying, tears and snot streaming down his face. Master Chin, I was wrong. I was blind to not recognize true greatness. I didn't know he was your son-in-law. I beg you, be the bigger man and spare me this one time. His gang of cronies were also scared stiff, each one silent as a winter cicada, not daring to even breathe loudly. Standing at the side, I was completely dumbfounded. Kitchen Emperor? Chin Dahai? What kind of title was that? It sounded so impressive. Uncle Chin looked at Wang Hao, who was kowtowing on the ground like he was pounding garlic, with no expression on his face. He turned his head to look at me, his kind and friendly expression returning. Xiaofeng, you say, how should we handle this? Me, huh? Let me handle it. How would I know how to handle something like this? Looking at Wang Hao's miserable state, I felt a bit of pity. Although he's incredibly annoying, his crime doesn't deserve death, right? Uncle Chin, how about? We just let it go, I said in a low voice. Let it go. Uncle Chin frowned. Hearing this, Wang Hao, as if grasping a life-saving straw, began kowtowing frantically to me. Yes. Let it go. Let it go. Big brother. Ancestor. I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Uncle Chin pondered for a moment, seemingly considering my suggestion. Then he nodded. All right, since my son-in-law has spoken, I'll give you face today. He pointed at Wang Hao and said coldly, get lost. If you ever dare to harass Ruo Xue or cause trouble for Xiaofeng again, I'll chop you up and make you into braised lion's head meatballs. Yes. I'll get lost. I'll get lost right now. As if granted amnesty, Wang Hao scrambled and crawled his way out. His gang of friends also scattered like birds and beasts. In the private room, only Uncle Chin and I were left, along with the all-star chef team behind him. Xiaofeng, you've been wronged. Uncle Chin patted my shoulder. No, not at all, Uncle Chin. Thank you for today, I said sincerely. If he hadn't arrived in time, I probably would have received a brutal beating today. We're family. No need for thanks. Uncle Chin waved his hand. Come, go home with Uncle. Uncle will make you something delicious to calm your nerves. I was escorted back to Cloud Top Villa by Uncle Chin and his men, treated like a celebrity. On the way, I finally couldn't hold back my curiosity and asked Uncle Chin. Uncle Chin, what does Kitchen Emperor mean? Hearing this, Uncle Chin laughed heartily. It's just a silly nickname my friend in the scene gave me out of respect, not to be taken seriously. Although he said it humbly, I could see the weight of that title in the adoring eyes of the brawny men behind him. Only later did I learn the truth. Uncle Chin, Chin Dahai, was a legend in the Shunchang culinary world in his youth. He debuted at 15, conquering the world with a single kitchen knife, and by 25, he had won the gold medal in the National Chefs Competition, earning the title Kitchen Emperor. Not only were his culinary skills superb, but he was also an extremely righteous man, well respected in both the legitimate and underworld circles of Shuncheng, with a terrifyingly vast network of connections. Back when Wang Hao's father, Wang Defa, was just a labor contractor, he had received a favor from Uncle Chin. Later, to take care of young Chin Ruoxue, Uncle Chin washed his hands of his past, retired from the scene, and dedicated himself to being a house husband. But in the streets, his legend continued to circulate. After hearing all this, my admiration for Uncle Chin was like a surging river, endless and unceasing. How is this a cook? This was clearly a main character with cheat codes. Returning to the villa, as soon as I walked through the door, I saw Chin Ruoxue waiting anxiously in the living room. When she saw me return safe and sound, she was visibly relieved. But immediately after, she saw Uncle Chin behind me. Her face instantly turned cold again. "Dad, where did you go again? And why did you bring so many people back?" "I went to pick up my son-in-law from school," Uncle Chin said matter-of-factly. "My son-in-law was being bullied. How could I just sit by and watch?" Chin Ruoxue's gaze fell on me, her expression complicated. "He bullied you?" "No, not at all." I quickly shook my head. "Not at all." Uncle Chin's eyes widened. "He had you cornered in the club. If I hadn't gone in time, our little phone would have been hurt today." Chin Ruoxue's expression changed. She walked up to me and asked in a low voice, "Are you okay?" This was the first time today she had spoken to me in such a gentle tone. A warmth spread through my heart. I shook my head. "I'm fine." She was silent for a moment, then turned to Uncle Chin and said, "Dad, thank you. But in the future, my business and his business, I hope you won't interfere anymore." "Why?" Uncle Chin was puzzled. "You young people are thin-skinned and too embarrassed to make a move. As an elder, isn't it right for me to stand up for you?" "We don't need it." Chin Ruoxue's tone was firm. "Dad, Lin Feng is just my employee, not your son-in-law. Please stop creating trouble for him. And for me." After speaking, she didn't even look at us and went straight upstairs. The atmosphere in the living room instantly dropped to freezing point. Uncle Chin looked at his daughter's back, sighed, and the smile on his face vanished. "This child, why is she so stubborn?" He turned to me, his face full of apology. "Little Feng, I'm sorry, you've been wronged again." I shook my head, feeling quite down myself. Actually, I could understand Chin Ruoxue. A proud person like her would definitely not want her life to be overly interfered with by her father. Even more so, she wouldn't want to be entangled in some ambiguous relationship with an ordinary employee like me because of these ridiculous misunderstandings. Perhaps I really should keep my distance from them, father and daughter. Just as my mind was wandering, my phone rang again. I took it out and saw it was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered. From the other end of the line came a strange, sarcastic voice. "Hello, is this Lin Feng?" It was Manager Wang. "Manager Wang, what can I do for you?" "Haha, Lin Feng. Oh, Lin Feng, you really are a good subordinate of mine." Manager Wang's tone was full of ridicule. "You've really grown some backbone, haven't you? Even bringing in Chairman Chin's father. Do you have any idea that, because of you, the partnership between the company and the Wang Corporation is completely off? The board of directors is furious right now, and Chairman Chin has been implicated because of this. Lin Feng, you just wait. Tomorrow, you can pack your things and get lost." With that, he hung up with a snap. I stood there holding my phone, stunned. The partnership is off. Chapter 7. My mind went buzz. The partnership between the Wang Corporation and the Chin Corporation was the company's most important project this year, involving billions of dollars. Although I was just a low-level employee, I knew how important this project was to the company. And now, because of me, it was off. I looked up at Chin Ruoxue's room on the second floor. The light was still on. She must be very upset and blaming herself right now. Not only does she have to face pressure from the board, but she also has to deal with a troublemaker like me. A strong sense of guilt washed over my heart. Little phone, what's wrong? Whose call was that? Uncle Cheen asked with concern, seeing the look on my face. Uncle Cheen. My lips moved, but I didn't know how to begin. Should I tell him how much trouble his show of power today had caused his daughter? I couldn't say it. I took a deep breath and forced a smile. It's nothing, just a sales call. Uncle Cheen gave me a suspicious look, but didn't press further. All right, don't just stand there, go and eat. Once you've eaten your fill, all your troubles will disappear. That night, I ate the delicacies prepared by Uncle Cheen, but they tasted like wax. All that was in my mind was Manager Wong's pack your things and get lost. For an ordinary person like me, with no power or influence, losing my job was a huge deal. But more than losing my job, I was worried about Cheen Ruoshue. This project meant the world to her. It was the first mega project she had personally led since taking over the company. If it succeeded, her position in the company would be completely solidified. Now, everything was ruined. It was all my fault. If I had never appeared in her life, would any of this have happened? I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, with 2 huge dark circles under my eyes, I walked into the company with a heart full of anxiety. I was prepared to be yelled at by everyone, then called in by HR, and finally to leave with a cardboard box in my arms. However, when I walked into the office, I found the atmosphere a bit strange. There was no storm of fury I had imagined. The way my colleagues looked at me was even more complex than yesterday. In addition to sympathy, there was also a hint of awe. When Manager Wong saw me, he was like a mouse seeing a cat. He shrank his neck and hid in his office, not even daring to look at me. What was going on? I was wondering when the CEO's secretary came over in her high heels. Lin Feng, President Cheen wants to see you in her office. It's here. The moment of judgment has finally arrived. With the tragic feeling of the wind whistles and the river is cold, I walked into Cheen Ruoshue's office. She was sitting behind her desk, looking at a document. The sunlight streaming through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows bathed her in a glow, making her seem somewhat unreal. President Cheen, you were looking for me. I kept my head down, not daring to look at her. She put down the document and looked up. Her face was a little pale, but her eyes were unusually calm. Sit. I did as I was told, sitting in the chair opposite her, feeling as if I were on pins and needles. Did Manager Wong call you last night? She asked, getting straight to the point. My heart skipped a beat and I nodded. And you believed everything he said? I was stunned, not understanding what she meant. The collaboration with the Wong family has indeed been stopped, she said faintly. But it's not off. I was the one who called it off. What? I snapped my head up, a look of shock on my face. A man like Wang Defa is profit-driven and has no credibility to speak of. Cooperating with him is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. There was a hint of disdain in Cheen Ruoshue's voice. I was never optimistic about this project from the very beginning. It was just that bunch of old-timers on the board of directors who were dazzled by the grand promises he made. Yesterday's incident just gave me an excuse to terminate the cooperation. So, you don't have to blame yourself. She looked at me with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher in her eyes. This matter has nothing to do with you. In fact, I should even thank you. Listening to her words, I felt like I was dreaming. So, not only did I not cause any trouble, but I actually helped her. As for Manager Wong, Cheen Ruoshue sneered. Did he think I didn't know how many benefits he took from the Wong family behind my back? I've already had HR deal with him. No wonder he was acting like a coward today. Then, what about me? I asked cautiously. Am I going to be fired too? Cheen Ruoshue looked at me and suddenly smiled. That was the first time I had ever seen her smile. Like a melting iceberg, a blooming snow lotus. So beautiful it made my heart tremble. Fire you? Why would I fire my boyfriend? She deliberately emphasized the word boyfriend. My face flushed crimson in an instant. President Cheen, please don't joke with me. I'm not joking. Her smile faded, and her expression turned serious. Lin Feng, I need you to do me a favor. What favor? Continue. To pretend to be my boyfriend. Me? I suspected there was something wrong with my ears. President Cheen, what did you say? I said, I need you to be my contract boyfriend, Cheen Ruoshue said, looking at me and enunciating each word. The matter with Wong Hao is just the beginning. There are many more flies like him around me. I need a shield so I can focus on my work. And you are the most suitable candidate at the moment. My dad likes you. Wang Hao's afraid of you. And that bunch of old guys on the board are now wary of your background. Having you around will save me a lot of trouble. Listening to her grand plan, I was completely dumbfounded. What on earth was all this? I'm just an ordinary office worker. What kind of background do I have? My only background is my cheap father-in-law and his Peppa Pig tattoo. Of course, I won't let you help for free. Qin Ruoxue took a contract out of a drawer and pushed it in front of me. This is the contract. The term is 1 year. During this year, you need to cooperate with me and play the role of my boyfriend on necessary occasions. In return, your position will be promoted directly from an ordinary planner to special assistant to the president. Your salary will be increased tenfold. In addition, this apartment is also yours. She then took out a set of keys and a property deed. I looked down. The address on the property deed was for a 180 square meter luxury flat in the most high-end residential complex in the city center. The market price was at least $20 million. I swallowed hard, feeling my breath quicken. A promotion, a raise, a monthly income of $100,000, and a $20 million luxury apartment, just for me to pretend to be your boyfriend? What kind of pie-in-the-sky good fortune is this? How about it? Qin Ruoxue looked at me. Are you satisfied with these terms? I looked at her stunning face, then at the contract and property deed on the table. I felt like a mortal being tempted by the devil. My reason told me that this was not reliable, that the water was too deep, and I shouldn't get involved. But she was offering way too much. I struggled. I hesitated. I agonized. For about 0.1 second. Then, I decisively picked up the pen. President Qin, I am willing to work for you. What is integrity? Can you eat it? Can you exchange it for a $20 million mansion? No. Very good. Qin Ruoxue nodded with satisfaction. From today on, you are my special assistant. Your office is right next to mine. After work, move in and live with me. The mouthful of water I had just taken sprayed right out. Cohabitation. What else? Qin Ruoxue retorted as if it were the most natural thing in the world. If we don't live together, how can we convince my dad and all those people out there that our relationship is real? It's written very clearly in the contract. I lowered my head to look at the contract. Sure enough, in the supplementary clauses, written in characters as small as ants, it said, Party B is required to cohabit with Party A in order to cultivate feelings. Me. President Qin, this contract of yours is a trap. Chapter 8. And just like that, I, Lin Feng, in a single day, completed a magical triple jump from an invisible employee in the company to the president's special assistant, and then to a contract boyfriend and cohabiting partner. When I stood at the entrance of the cloud-top villa again, holding all my worldly possessions, a suitcase and a backpack, my feelings were complicated. The one who opened the door was still Uncle Qin. When he saw me and the luggage in my hands, he was first taken aback, then overjoyed. Little Feng, you've come around? You're moving in? His voice trembled with excitement. Before I could explain, he snatched my luggage and enthusiastically pulled me inside. Wonderful. This is truly wonderful. I knew it. You young people say no with your mouths, but your bodies are very honest. Qin Ruoxue came down from upstairs and saw this scene, her face expressionless. Dad, I asked him to move in. What? Uncle Qin became even more excited. Daughter, you've finally seen the light. Dad supports you. Cohabitation is good. Cohabitation promotes feelings. After speaking, he gave me a wink, his eyes seeming to say, Not bad, kid. You got my daughter this fast. Me? I felt that my innocence had already drifted away from me like a cloud in the sky. Qin Ruoxue clearly didn't want to dwell on this topic. Dad, which room is he staying in? Why a guest room? Uncle Qin waved his hand magnanimously. He'll stay in the one next to yours. I've already had the housekeeper clean it up. The sheets and duvet cover have all been changed to new ones. You two will be living close by, so you can look out for each other at night. That last phrase, look out for each other, was said with profound meaning. I blushed just hearing it. A rare blush also appeared on Qin Ruoxue's face, but she quickly returned to normal. As you wish. She threw down those two words and turned back to her room. And so, I officially began my cohabitation life with the Ice Queen president and her comedian father. Life during the day was relatively normal. As the president's special assistant, my daily job was to follow Chin Ruoxue around, help her with some documents, and arrange some schedules. Although the gossip about me in the company grew, no one dared to say anything to my face. After all, I was now imperial kin. But when night fell, the atmosphere became strange. Every evening at dinner, Uncle Chin would cook a large table of food, then sit between me and Chin Ruoxue like a foreman, supervising our cultivation of feelings. Little Feng, give Ruoxue a chicken leg. It's her favorite. Ruoxue, you should give little Feng some food too. Don't just eat by yourself. You too. Why are you sitting so far apart? Closer, get closer. Under Uncle Chin's strong matchmaking, Chin Ruoxue and I were forced to act out a play of treating each other with the respect of a guest. Every day, I would put food on her plate, and she would serve me soup. Both of us had professional fake smiles plastered on our faces, but inside, we were so awkward we could have dug a 3-bedroom apartment with our toes. After dinner, Uncle Chin would also force us to watch TV together, and he specifically chose those sickeningly sweet romantic idol dramas. Whenever the male and female leads on TV were being lovey-dovey, Uncle Chin would sweep his gaze back and forth between us with an extremely suggestive look. That look seemed to say, "Learn from them. See how people are supposed to be in love." Several times, I felt that Chin Ruoxue was about to explode. But looking at her dad's expectant face, she forced herself to endure it. I began to feel a little sympathy for her. With such a comedian for a father, how exciting her life must have been all these years. This evening, Uncle Chin was again forcing us to watch a melodramatic romance. When the male lead pinned the female lead against the wall for a cabinet, Uncle Chin suddenly slapped his thigh. "Wow, this is good. This is so impactful." He turned his head and looked at me with an excited expression. "Xiao Feng, you should learn from this. Tomorrow, you should do this to our Ruoxue." The apple in my mouth almost fell out. He wanted to pin Chin Ruoxue against the wall? I don't think I've lived long enough. Chin Ruoxue's face instantly darkened as well. "Dad, if you keep talking nonsense, I'm going back to my room." "Hey, I was just kidding," Uncle Chin said with a sheepish smile. But it wasn't long before he started acting up again. "Ruoxue, look, the female lead is even taking the initiative to kiss him. You should be a little more proactive too." Chin Ruoxue finally couldn't take it anymore. She stood up abruptly, coldly tossed out the words, "I'm tired," and went upstairs without looking back. In the living room, only Uncle Chin, with an innocent look on his face, and I were left. What's wrong with this child? Why is she angry again? Uncle Chin scratched his head, completely baffled. I sighed and prepared to go back to my room as well. Just as I reached the top of the stairs, Uncle Chin called out to me. "Xiao Feng, wait a minute." He took out a beautifully wrapped small box from behind him. "This is for you." I took it and saw the logo of a famous luxury brand. Opening the box, I found a pair of couples' rings with a simple design. "Uncle Chin, this is too expensive." "Hey, it's nothing much." Uncle Chin waved his hand. "This is my engagement gift to you two." And engagement. I was so scared my hand trembled and the rings almost fell to the ground. We've only been living together for a few days. How do we fast forward to getting engaged? You young people shouldn't always be thinking about your careers. You need to hurry up with the important things in life. Uncle Chin said earnestly. "I think the 8th of next month is a good day. Why don't you two get engaged first?" "Me?" "Uncle Chin, your speed is faster than a rocket." I held the pair of rings, feeling like I was holding 2 hot potatoes. If Chin Ruoxue found out about this, wouldn't she skin me alive? As I was struggling with what to do, Chin Ruoxue's bedroom door suddenly opened. She stood at the doorway, looking coldly at the ring box in my hand. "Dad, what nonsense are you giving him again?" Seeing her, Uncle Chin wasn't the least bit guilty. Instead, he said righteously, "I'm giving my son-in-law engagement rings." "What's wrong with that?" "I told you, he's not your son-in-law." Chin Ruoxue's voice rose a few decibels. "He may not be now, but he will be in the future. I won't marry him." "That's not up to you." The father and daughter started arguing right there at the top of the stairs. I was caught in the middle, in a difficult position. "Enough!" Chin Ruoxue suddenly shouted, her eyes turning red. Dad, can you please stop forcing me? I'm not forcing you. I'm doing this for your own good. For my own good? Is arranging my entire life for me for my own good? Is forcing me to marry a man I don't even like for my own good? She pointed at me, her voice choked with tears. My heart twinged, as if I had been punched. Even though I knew she was acting, the phrase "a man I don't even like" still made me feel a little hurt. I'm telling you, Chindahai, I am in charge of my own life. I would rather be alone for the rest of my life than marry him. After saying that, she slammed the door with a bang. The entire villa fell silent. Uncle Chin stood there like a child who had done something wrong, at a loss. After a long while, he sighed and turned away dejectedly. Shao Feng, I am sorry. Uncle Chin, it's okay. I interrupted him, handing the rings back to him. This isn't your fault. I looked at Chin Ruoshue's tightly shut door, my heart filled with mixed feelings. Perhaps it was time for this farce to end. I wasn't good enough for her, whether it was family background or ability. I was just an ordinary person who had accidentally wandered into her world. Now it was time to wake up from the dream. I went back to my room and took out the contract that had changed my destiny. I read it over and over again. Finally, I made up my mind. The next morning, I didn't go to the company. I packed my luggage and placed the keys and property deed to the mansion, along with my resignation letter, on Chin Ruoshue's bedside table. Then, I quietly left this castle that didn't belong to me. Goodbye, Chin Ruoshue. Goodbye, my $20 million mansion. Chapter 9. Dragging my suitcase, I walked on the street in the early morning, feeling a sense of relief. Although I was back to being a penniless pauper, I felt more at ease than ever before. Things that don't belong to you can't be kept in the end. I found a small inn to stay in and started submitting my resume online, looking for a new job. However, reality dealt me a heavy blow. I've sent out hundreds of resumes, but they all vanished without a trace. A few companies finally gave me a chance to interview, but as soon as they heard my name, they would look at me with a strange expression, then find all sorts of excuses to reject me. It was only then that I realized things weren't that simple. I had offended Wang Hao and gotten involved in that huge scandal with Chin Ruoshue. In the social circles of Shuncheng, I had probably been labeled as trouble. No company dared to hire me. A week passed, and the money I brought with me was almost gone. I even started to consider whether I should leave Shuncheng and go back to my hometown. That night, I was eating instant noodles while browsing job listings online. There was a knock on the hotel room door. I thought it was the hotel owner coming to collect rent and went to open the door impatiently. But standing outside was someone I never expected. Chin Ruoshue. She was dressed in simple casual wear, with no makeup on, looking somewhat gaunt. She just stood there quietly at the door, looking at me, her eyes red-rimmed. We looked at each other, neither of us speaking. In the end, she was the one to break the silence, her voice hoarse. Why did you leave without saying goodbye? I didn't know how to answer. I saw the resignation letter, and I also received the property deed and the keys. She said, as if to herself, Lin Feng, do you think I'm someone you can just provoke and then abandon whenever you please? I didn't. I denied it hastily. Then why did you leave? She took a step closer, her eyes burning into mine. Just because I said I don't like you. Did you know that my dad sat alone in the living room all night that night? Did you know that for the past few days, he hasn't been able to eat or sleep well, and he's lost a lot of weight? Did you know that his high blood pressure flared up today, and he's been hospitalized? My mind went buzz. Uncle Chin is hospitalized. Yes. Chin Ruoshue's tears finally fell. The doctor said it was caused by extreme anger and anxiety. Lin Feng, my dad, he might not be able to cook for a very long time. My heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. That old man, as warm as the sun and as innocent as a child. That old man who cooked different delicious meals for us every day, whose only wish was for his daughter's happiness. And now, because of me, he was lying in a hospital bed. I'm sorry. My voice was trembling. It's all my fault. What's the use of saying sorry now? Chin Ruoshue wiped away her tears, took a file out of her bag, and threw it in front of me. What's this? My dad's latest medical report. My hands trembled as I opened it. On the report, various indicators were flagged in red. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease. And on the final page, under the doctor's recommendations, was a line written in glaring, bold letters. It is advised that the patient maintain a cheerful mood and avoid extreme emotional highs and lows, otherwise his life will be in danger. I felt the world spin, and I could barely stand. So, Chin Roshua looked at me and said, word by word, Lin Feng, I'm begging you. Come back. Come back to my side. Come back to my dad's side. Continue to play the role of my boyfriend until my dad's health improves. She looked at me, her eyes filled with pleading and helplessness. The high and mighty Ice Queen CEO, for the first time, lowered her proud head in front of me. What else could I say? Could I refuse? I looked at her tear-reddened eyes and thought of Uncle Chin's scarred but warmly smiling face. I nodded. Okay. I returned to the Yunding Villa. Or rather, I was escorted back by Chin Ruoxue. When I appeared in Uncle Chin's hospital room again, he was lying on the bed, staring listlessly at the ceiling. When he saw me, his eyes instantly lit up. Little Feng. He struggled, trying to sit up. I rushed over to support him. Uncle Chin, don't move, just lie down and rest. You're back. He grabbed my hand excitedly, his eyes turning red. I knew you wouldn't abandon our Ruoxue. Looking at his pale face, I felt a mix of bitterness and sorrow in my heart. Uncle Chin, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left. It's not your fault, not your fault. Uncle Chin waved his hand repeatedly. It's all my fault. I was too hasty, I scared you. He turned his head to look at Chin Ruoxue beside him, his tone reproachful. And you, how could you say such harsh words to little Feng? Hurry up and apologize to him. Chin Ruoxue's face flushed crimson. Making her apologize to me in front of her father? It would be more painful than killing her. She turned her head away and said nothing. Look at you, child. Uncle Chin got so angry he tried to sit up again. I'm sorry. Just then, Chin Ruoxue suddenly spoke. Her voice was as faint as a mosquito's buzz. I was stunned. Uncle Chin was stunned too. What did you say? Louder. I said, I'm sorry. Chin Ruoxue threw caution to the wind, raised her head, looked at me, and said loudly, although her cheeks were crimson and her eyes were darting. Those 3 words were spoken with perfect clarity. Looking at her shy yet indignant expression, I suddenly felt it was a little funny. So, even an iceberg can blush. That's more like it. Uncle Chin nodded with satisfaction. Then, he started making trouble again. What's the use of just apologizing? Show some sincerity. He pointed at my face. Kiss him. Me, Chin Ruoxue. We both froze solid. Uncle Chin, have you been watching too many TV dramas? Don't you know you're a patient and shouldn't be agitated? Dad, what nonsense are you talking about? Chin Ruoxue's face was so red it looked like it could bleed. I'm not talking nonsense. Uncle Chin said confidently. Isn't this how you young people do things? One kiss, and all conflicts are resolved. Hurry up, or my blood pressure will spike again. As he spoke, he clutched his chest, pretending to have an attack. Chin Ruoxue grew anxious. Dad, don't be like this. I don't care. If you don't kiss him today, I'm not taking my medicine, and I'm not leaving the hospital. Uncle Chin started acting shamelessly. I looked at this clownish father-daughter duo, my head throbbing. What kind of mess was this? Chin Ruoxue looked at her shameless father, then at me standing beside her completely bewildered, and was caught in a fierce internal struggle. Finally, she gritted her teeth, closed her eyes, lunged forward, and gave my cheek a quick peck. Then, as if electrocuted, she shot back. The whole process took less than a second. I only felt something soft and warm touch my cheek for an instant, leaving a faint, fresh scent. I was completely dumbfounded. The hospital room fell into a dead silence. Uncle Chin looked at us, a gratified smile on his face. Now, that's more like it. Before he could finish his sentence, he saw Chin Ruoxue's face, at a speed visible to the naked eye, turn from red to deathly pale. Then her eyes rolled back, and she fainted dead away. Me? Uncle Chin. It was over. The Ice Queen CEO had been kissed into a faint. The hospital room erupted into chaos. Doctors and nurses rushed in, tried to revive her, and checking her blood pressure. Fortunately, Chin Ruoxue had only fainted briefly due to extreme emotional agitation and lack of rest over the past few days. It was nothing serious. But when she woke up, The way she looked at me was as if she were looking at a class enemy. That look, which screamed of a desire to see me suffer death by 1,000 cuts, left me no doubt that if Uncle Cheen weren't watching, she would have thrown me out the window on the spot. Uncle Cheen, however, was delighted. He felt that our relationship had taken a quantum leap forward after this intimate contact. He even began to enthusiastically discuss with us what to name our future children. I looked at Cheen Ruoshue's face, as black as the bottom of a pot, and felt like my life was on a countdown. To save my own life, and also to let Uncle Cheen recover in peace, Cheen Ruoshue and I were forced to begin a cohabiting life of public displays of affection. Every day, I would cook a meal and bring it to the hospital. Then, in front of Uncle Cheen Ruoshue and I would act out all sorts of sweet scenes. I'd feed her soup, and she'd wipe my mouth. Both of us wore perfect smiles, but under the table, our feet were engaged in a fierce battle. Lin Feng, if you dare step on me again, I'll make you spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair. CEO Cheen, the feeling is mutual. Your Chanel high heels are quite exquisite themselves. Uncle Cheen watched us flirt, grinning from ear to ear. He thought our relationship was just wonderful. Besides the hospital, we also had to maintain our couple persona at the company at all times. We went to work together and left work together every day. We sat together for meals in the company cafeteria. I even had to go to the CEO's office to deliver her afternoon tea under the watchful eyes of everyone. Everyone in the company thought that Lin Feng, must have hit some kind of cosmic jackpot, not only winning over the Ice Queen CEO, but also taming her completely. Only I knew that I was living in hell every day. Cheen Ruoshue was a she-devil in human skin. By day, she exploited my labor at the company. By night, she drained my mental energy at home. She would force me to watch financial news reports that she herself didn't even understand, all under the pretext of nurturing our relationship. She would suddenly unplug my internet cable while I was gaming, then coldly toss out the phrase, "Playing with things saps the will." She even confiscated the hundreds of gigabytes of study materials I had hidden in my D drive under the pretext of supervising my studies. If this can be tolerated, what cannot? That night, I was once again forced by her to look at a tedious financial report. I finally exploded. Cheen Ruoshue, that's enough. I slammed the report onto the desk. We're just a contract couple. Why do you have to control me so much? She was stunned, seemingly not expecting that I would dare to challenge her. On the grounds that I am your boss, she said coldly. It's after work hours now, I retorted tit for tat. You have no right to interfere in my private life. Our contract states that you need to be available 24 hours a day to play the role of a couple with me. Playing a couple doesn't include confiscating my study materials. What's so good about that kind of stuff? She scoffed disdainfully. That is my life's work. It's art. Vulgar. You're the vulgar one. You're a cold-blooded animal who doesn't understand art and has no feelings. In my agitation, I blurted out everything that was on my mind. As soon as I said it, I regretted it. It's over. I'm going to die. Cheen Ruoshue's face, as expected, darkened. She stood up and walked towards me, step by step. The sound of her high heels clicking on the floor was like the summoning charm of the god of death. I subconsciously retreated. What are you trying to do? She didn't speak, just walked up to me and stopped. Then she suddenly reached out, grabbed my tie, and gave a hard tug. I lost my balance and was pulled directly in front of her. Our faces were less than 10 centimeters apart. I could clearly see her long eyelashes and the surging emotions in the depths of her eyes. Who did you say? Her voice was low and hoarse, with a hint of dangerous allure. Is a cold-blooded animal. I swallowed, my mind a complete blank. What? What is this situation? What does she want to do? Hit me? Scold me? Or, just as my mind was racing with wild thoughts, she suddenly stood on her tiptoes. A pair of cold, yet soft lips were pressed against mine. My whole body froze. Time seemed to stand still at this moment. I could only hear my own heart beating like a drum. This kiss was very clumsy, very awkward, like two small animals, tentatively exploring each other. I don't know how long it was before she slowly pulled away. Her face was as red as a ripe apple, her eyes hazy, and she was out of breath. She looked at me, her gaze complicated. There was shyness, annoyance, and a trace of affection that even she herself had not noticed. "Now," she panted, asking word by word, "do you still think I have no feelings?" Looking at her like this, only one thought remained in my mind. It's over. I think I've actually fallen in love with this she-devil. And she, it seems. Just then, a clang sound came from the doorway. Chin Ruashua and I turned our heads at the same time. We saw Uncle Chin, dressed in a hospital gown, holding a fruit platter, standing dumbfounded at the door. The fruit platter fell to the ground, and apples and oranges rolled all over the floor. He looked at the two of us, then at the fruit on the floor, and an extremely sleazy smile appeared on his face. "Oh my, am I interrupting you? You guys carry on, carry on. Just pretend I'm not here." With that, he tiptoed out and even thoughtfully helped us close the door. Me? Chin Ruashua. An awkward atmosphere called social death permeated the air. Chin Ruashua's face was already so red it was about to explode. She shoved me away abruptly and fled back to her room like a startled rabbit. I stood there alone, touching my still somewhat hot lips, and couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps this kind of life isn't so bad after all.